Welcome back to the vlog. Thanks for joining us today. We're going to be playing over at Capital Casino, playing in the 1-3 game. The action's been really good, and I've been doing all right, so I can't complain. I also want to make a quick announcement that I'm going to be making short videos for YouTube. Anyway, sit back, relax, enjoy. I think you're going to like this one. We're back at Sacramento, California, playing in the 1-3 game over at Capital Casino. It's a very good game. Should come down and test it out. Anyway, we get in for $500. Second hand off the deck, we pick up ace-king suited. It's folded to us, so we go ahead and raise to 15. We get a call from the button and the big blind. So we're going to go three ways to this flop with 46 in. Flop comes out ace-9-3 with two diamonds. So we got top pair, top kicker, pretty basic. It's checked us, we bet 15. Button folds, big blind puts in the call. Now he has a very short stack, so he could be calling with second pair here. Turn card comes as a 10 of hearts, and he just leads into me for $30. Of course, I'm going to be calling. River card comes as a 4. He's reluctant to show. He kind of flashes a queen, so I know I have him beat. And then he shows a 10 behind it. It's always nice winning the first hand of the day. In this situation, I'm on the button with ace-jack. A friend of mine is in the small blind who just got called to the main game. And he's like racking up his chips. And I hate playing out of the rack. I think it's bad luck. But I decided I got ace-jack. I'm going to open for 15, take his $1 blind. But he defends and raises to 50. I really think he has a strong hand when he does this, but ace-jack is too good to let go, especially when I'm in position, so I put in the call. Heads up, we see a flop of ace-jack-4. Yeah, pretty good flop. He checks right away. I put out a small bet of $40. I'm thinking if he has an ace, he might play back, and if he has a pocket pair, then that's probably all I can get out of him. Turn card comes as a queen of clubs, so now there are some straightening cards out there. When he checks to me, I just bet 100. He kind of moans and groans, shows that he has pocket kings and he's laying it down. So being a friend, I show him that I had the ace and we take this one down. Well, so far it's going pretty good. We outran pocket kings on that last hand. Let's see how we do this one. There was a couple of limpers. I pick up king, queen, diamonds in the big blind, raise to 25. Only the player on the button puts in the call, and he has a short stack. Flop comes out, king high, rainbow. Pretty good flop. I figure I'm going to check this one to try to disguise the strength of my hand. I don't think he has very much, so I check it again. Seeing he will take a stab, and he does. He goes all in for his remaining chips. Obviously, it's a very quick call. River card's a king on top of everything, but he had jack 10, so it was drawing completely dead at the time. So just give him enough rope to hang himself, and that's what he did. Well, here I pick up pocket aces and get no action. Oh well, can't win a big pot every time. Well, let's try out these suited connectors in position on the button. It only cost me $11 to see this flop with 5 other players, and I just whiff it completely. So sometimes even the suited connectors don't connect. All right, we have 3 limpers coming in, and I got ace-queen in the small blind. Put in a raise to 25, just hoping to take down the blinds. But one of the players in middle position, who's just been running pretty good for the last few hands, puts in the call. And he's a fan of the vlog, and he wanted to make sure he made the vlog. So I think he just really wants to put a bad beat on me here. But we're going to go heads up to this flop with $59 in the center. Flop comes out, well, complete blank. Deuce, deuce, 3. I'm pretty sure I'm in the lead right now, but I decided to check it just because I would check all my overpairs at this point with such a dry flop against one opponent. He checks it back, and we see a 9 of diamonds on the turn. Another pretty good card. I decided to leave small this time for $20. He doesn't think too long before putting in the call. I don't think he has a 9. I think he has maybe some sort of wheel draw, maybe like an ace-4 or ace-5. Anyway, after thinking for a while, he calls and we see a river card of a 6 of diamonds. Not really great, because if he had a hand like 4-5, 6-5, he just made a pair. I check it to him, he surrenders, and my ace high is good. He did flash that he had a 4 of spades in his hand. All right, I'm on the button with 2 5s. There's one limper. I raised to 15, end up getting a couple callers. So we're going to go 3 ways to this flop with 46 in. Flop comes out 10-9-5 with 2 clubs. So it's a pretty wet board. Both players end up checking to me. And I make a mistake here. I bet $20. I think I should be sizing up maybe to 30 at this point, just because the board is so wet. I do get one caller from the player in the hijack. Turn card comes, which is an 8 of diamonds, which is one of the worst cards out there. I mean, it completes the obvious straight of Queen Jack. It puts up a second flush draw on there. I kind of wanted to check it, but there's just 2 flush draws out there. So I forced myself to bet 40. If I'm betting, I should probably bet closer to 75, 80. Anyway, he thinks about it for a very long time. And the longer he thinks about it, the more I think he has something like Queen Jack. Anyway, he finally decides on putting in a very small raise to $90. So it cost me 50 more. Obviously, he just wants to get value out of his big hand. He doesn't really put me on much right now. But I'm going to have a surprise for him if the board pairs. So I'm going to call for the 50, looking for the board to pair, and it comes to 8 of spades on the river. So perfect card. I'm sure he's going to be firing with his straight, and that's what he does. He ends up betting out for $100. He has about another has another 60 or 70 behind. So, of course, I just stick it all in. He doesn't think long before putting in the call, and I show him the pocket 5s. And we take this one down with a full house, and I believe I needed every bit of it. Well, you know how I told you I hate playing out of the rack? Well, they just called me over to the main game, and I racked up my chips, and I got one last hand to look at. And, of course, I looked down at pocket aces. There were a couple limpers in front of me, and I'm just going, okay, I got to be playing this. So I naturally raised to 25. It gets folded back around to the original limper from under the gun, and he does something that I did not expect. And he shoves all in. The other players fold out. Naturally, I show my hand and say, well, I got to be calling. He shows that he has pocket kings, so it's a very cooler situation. We're all cheering for a flop of ace, king, king, but it doesn't come that way. He does flop a backdoor flush draw, but it comes brick, brick. And I ended up winning my final hand at that table before moving over to the main table. We move over to the main table. Been sitting for about 20 minutes or so. Finally pick up 2 10s from under the gun, open for 15. I end up getting 4 callers for the 15. And then the big blind decides to raise to 75. All right, so a little backstory on the big blind. He is a aggressive player. Doesn't mean he has aces or kings when he's making this type of raise from this position. He could be doing this with a wide variety of hands, especially hands like ace king, ace queen, king queen even, maybe even ace jack. Of course, he could be doing it with pocket jacks, pocket queens. All that in mind, I think that he's more likely to have a non-paired hand, and I really want to get the other players out and get heads up with him. He does have about 500 behind, so it's a little scary, but I decided to jam. There's 150 in dead money sitting out there, and if I could get him to fold a hand like ace queen or king queen, even it might even get him to fold a hand like pocket jacks in this situation with my shove, because I haven't played a hand since I've been at the table. It's been about 20 minutes. So here we go. The short stack from the cutoff puts in the call, And now the big blind goes into the tank, and I'm just going to speed this up because he was in there forever. So after about 2 or 3 minutes, he finally ends up putting in the fold. And so I'm going to be going heads up with the short stack for a $450 pot. Flop comes out queen high, not great. There are 2 hearts, so I have backdoor flush draw. Turns a blank, river, puts a possible straight up there. I show him my 10s. He says, I thought you were pretty weak. And the other player said he folded ace queen. So I'm glad I put the big raise in. I got to fold 2 big cards that would have beat me. And sometimes you got to be a little bit overly aggressive. And when I first sit down at a table, I like to be more on the aggressive side. And then later on, I can adjust to the table and play accordingly. There are a few limpers in front of us. We decided to limp with ace-4 suited. It plays well multi-way, and try to get in there cheap. Player on the button raises to 25, and we get 3 callers. So I'm going to go ahead and play along with $110 in this pot. We see a flop of queen 10-10 with 2 spades. So we flopped a nut flush draw, but it's on a paired board. It gets checked around to me. I decide to check to the aggressor, see what he was going to do. He ends up betting out for $75. Now, what I'm thinking is that he's most likely has a pair, a large pair, maybe kings, jacks, hopefully not queens. And for $75, I'm going to be forced to go ahead and take one off, see if I can make my flush. But I don't really have to worry about it too much because now the player in the big blind, who has a very large stack, decides to put in a raise. He makes it 175 on top of the 75. So obviously he has a 10 in this spot. I don't think he'll be doing it with anything else. He might even have a queen 10. I would slow play the queen 10 a little bit, but he might not. I'm not getting the right price to draw up my flush, so I'm just going to let this one go. I know a lot of you will say, wow, how can you let that draw go? But I think it's the right play. Turn card comes as a queen of diamonds. Obviously not a good card for my hand. It gets checked around. The river makes my flush with a 7 of spades. They go check, check, and the player shows ace 10 for 3 10s, which makes a full house. That beats a flush. There was a straddle on this hand. The player opens for 25. Rather large open. I decided to call from the button for 25 with my pair of 7s. Kind of questionable. It's very dubious. But the stacks were big and I wanted to flop a set. Anyway, the flop comes out Jack 10-4. So we completely miss. And yeah, this is an easy fold. But I kept the camera rolling on this one just because I had a hunch that the player next to me had something like Jack 10 or pocket 4s. I thought he had a very, very strong hand, and I didn't even think it was a flush draw. Anyway, gets one caller. The turn card comes as a 10 of spades, and now it goes check, check. So I'm pretty sure he just made a full house and is checking back, hoping the player makes a flush on the end. The river card comes as a 7 of hearts, so we would have filled up. It makes the flush. It gets checked to him again, and now he bets full pot of $200. The old me might have been tempted thinking that, oh, he missed his flush draw on the turn, he checked it, and now he got there with a flush draw. Maybe a pair of 7s here, a small full house is good. But I just got to go with my read that he was super strong on the flop. I mean, really, really strong. And I think if he had a flush draw, he probably would have barreled. The fact that he checked it back really makes me think that he has something like Jack 10. He might have pocket 4s, but it feels like Jack 10. Anyway, the other player folds out, and I got him to show that he had Jack 10. Ended up leaving shortly thereafter. I was in for 500, out for 1340, so we won 840, which is a pretty good day in my book. I ran good. What can I say? I caught some good hands at the right time. I thought I dodged a few troubling hands. That saved me some money. But overall, I'm very pleased with my play. I really appreciate you guys sticking around to the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and until next time, good luck at the tables.